in the countryside, where the land stretched as far as the eye could see and the houses were few and far apart from each other, lived Dona Lurdes, a woman with calloused hands and tired eyes, but with a heart that still kept hope, even after so many losses. She lived in a simple adobe house with a patched roof and a dirt yard, where she raised 3 chickens and planted a guava tree that barely produced fruit. Her daughter, Marizete, was 7 years old, with big, curious eyes and a way of laughing that filled the house with light, even when there was no food on the table. It was just the 2 of them, because the girl's father, Severino, had left even before Marizete turned to in search of work on a distant farm, promising to return as soon as he saved enough money. He promised to write, he promised to send news, but the years passed, and the letters stopped arriving. Dona Lurdes never knew if he had forgotten, if he had died in the labor, or if he had simply given up on returning. She still kept a crumpled photo of him inside the Bible, and at night, when her daughter was already asleep, she prayed softly, asking that he was well, wherever he was. Life became increasingly difficult. The crops that Dona Lurdes rented produced little, and the money from the daily job she did washing clothes for the wealthier families in the region was barely enough to buy the basics. It was on a dry afternoon, when the pantry was practically empty, and Marizete cried from hunger hidden behind the door so her mother wouldn't see. La tanta auxiliadora, Dona Lurdes' older sister, arrived for a visit from the city. Auxiliadora lived well. She was married to a merchant and lived in a masonry house with running water and guaranteed food every day. Upon seeing the state in which her sister and niece lived, her heart tightened, but along with the pain came a thought she couldn't silence. That girl deserved more than the misery her sister could offer. Lurdes, let me take the girl with me. There she will have school, she will have proper food, she will have a roof that doesn't leak when it rains. You know you're not managing, sighed the auxiliadora with a choked voice, feeling she was hurting her sister, but believing with all sincerity that it was best for the child. Dona Lurdes lowered her eyes. She knew her sister wasn't speaking out of malice, she was speaking out of love, a love that hurt more than any offense. 4 days she refused, hugging her daughter at night, swearing she would find a way. But hunger doesn't wait for promises, and when she saw Marizete get sick from eating so little, Dona Lurdes understood that maybe she needed, for a while, to set aside her pride for her daughter's sake. Take care, auxiliadora, but it's only until I manage to get back on my feet. I will come for my daughter. Yes, I will, she said, with a trembling voice, but firm in her promise. The farewell in the backyard was the most painful moment that Simple House had ever seen. Marizete clung to her mother's dress, crying, asking why she needed to go, promising she would eat less, that she would help more, that there was no need for her to leave. Dona Lurdes, with a broken heart, knelt before her daughter, held her small face in her hands and said, "My daughter, this is not because I don't love you. It is exactly because I love you that I am letting you go. I will come for you, I swear. Never doubt my love, even when the distance seems greater than it." Auxiliadora's car drove away on the dirt road, raising dust, taking with it little Marizete, who looked out the rear window until her mother's figure became a distant dot and then disappeared completely behind the curve. Dona Lurdes stood still in the middle of the yard, looking at the empty road, and it was there, alone, under the guava tree that never bore fruit, that she cried like she had never cried before, not out of despair, but with the silent determination of someone who had just made an oath she intended to fulfill, no matter the cost. The years passed slowly for Dona Lurdes. She worked twice as hard, saved every cent, visited her daughter whenever she could make the long trip to the city, and never, at any moment, stopped sending a note, a fruit picked from the yard, a piece of embroidered cloth. Small signs that a mother's love remained there, whole, even at a distance. Marizete grew up well cared for in her aunt's house, but she carried in her chest a longing that no abundant food could fill. It was on a common morning, while Dona Lurdes was washing clothes in the stone sink, that an unknown man, dressed in a worn suit and with a hat in his hands, stopped in front of her house gate. "Are you Dona Lurdes, who is married to Severino?" asked the man, introducing himself as a lawyer, coming from far away, tasked with locating the heirs of a deceased farmer. Dona Lurdes felt her heart race upon hearing the name of the husband she hadn't seen in so many years. The lawyer explained, calmly, a story she could never have imagined. Severino, when he left so many years ago, had gone to work as an employee on a large cotton farm belonging to a rich and lonely man who had no children or close relatives. Over the years, the old farmer, seeing Severino's dedication, honesty, and tireless work, who never stole a single grain of cotton, even in moments of greatest need, began to treat him as the son he never had. When the old farmer died, it was discovered that he had left his entire property to Severino in his will. The cotton farm, the lands, the equipment, everything. But there was a detail that broke Dona Lurdes' heart when she heard it. Severino, 2 years earlier, had suffered a serious accident while trying to save a worker buried during a storm that destroyed part of the farm's sheds. He remained in a coma for months, without memory of who he was, unable to send news to anyone, being cared for by the farmer himself as if he were his own blood. Only recently had he fully regained consciousness and memory, and the first thing he did was ask about the wife and daughter he had left behind. "He'd never forgot you. Not a single day," said the lawyer, handing her a sealed letter. "He asked me to find you before anything else. He said that all this land is worth nothing if he cannot share it with the two of you." Dona Lurdes opened the letter with trembling hands. The text, written in still unsteady handwriting from someone who had just returned to writing, said that Severino had never stopped being faithful to her, not in the most difficult moments, not when everything seemed lost, and that now, finally, he had the conditions to fulfill the promise he had made when he was still young, to give his daughter and wife a dignified life, without hunger, without cold, without separation. It was with a heart in celebration, but also filled with an emotion that mixed relief, longing, and a love that had never faded. That Dona Lurdes ran to the city, to her sister's house, to tell Marizete that her father was alive, that he was looking for them, and that finally, after so many years of silent waiting, the family could reunite. Marizete was almost 13 years old when, on a clear afternoon, she saw a truck stop in front of Aunt Auxiliadora's house. From it descended a tall man, with graying hair at the temples, a face marked by time and work, but with a look that, even without ever having seen him as an adult, she instantly recognized as the one from the crumpled photo her mother kept in the Bible. "Dad," she whispered. "Unable tumoba," afraid it was just a dream that would vanish if she blinked. Severino fell to his knees in the middle of the street, not caring who was watching, and opened his arms. Marizete ran to him, and the hug that followed was one of those that seemed to last a lifetime and, at the same time, never be enough. Dona Lurdes, who came right behind, watched the scene with eyes full of tears, feeling that every night of exhausting work, every promise whispered in the dark, every longing swallowed in silence, finally made sense. Severino approached his wife and, in front of his daughter, his sister-in-law, and the neighbors who had gathered to see the scene, took Dona Lurdes' calloused hands in his and said, "I promised I would return, and I took longer than I should have, for reasons beyond my control. But I never stopped being yours, Lurdes. Not for a single day, and now I have come to get you both, so we never separate again." Days later, the small family left behind the adobe house and headed toward the cotton farm that was now the new home for all of them. When the truck entered through the property gate and Marizete saw, for the first time, the white cotton field stretching as far as the eye could see, she felt that that immense white represented exactly what she felt inside. A blank page, ready to be written with a new story, full of father, mother, and a love that had resisted all trials. Aunt Auxiliadora, who had so feared having made the wrong choice in taking her niece to the city, was invited to visit the farm whenever she wanted. And there she understood that her gesture, although painful, had been an act of love that had helped keep the girl alive and well cared for, until the family could reunite whole. On the first night at the farm, sitting on the veranda of the big house, watching the sun set over the cotton fields, Dona Lurdes held her husband's hand and her daughter's hand and said softly, almost like a prayer, Sometimes life separates us to teach us the true value of union, and sometimes the most painful wait is exactly the necessary path to the most complete joy. This story reminds us that fidelity is not measured by constant physical presence, but by the permanence of love in the heart, even in the face of distance, silence, and doubt. Dona Lurdes never stopped believing, never stopped waiting, and her perseverance was rewarded not with material wealth, but with the reconstruction of a family that time and circumstances had separated, but never truly managed to destroy. How many times in our own lives do we judge a situation only by its surface, without knowing the silent battles each person faces far from our eyes? Severino's journey teaches us that true love resists time, and that true wealth is not in the land or the cotton, but in the union of a family that chooses to remain faithful even when everything seems lost. May this story touch your heart as it touched ours when we wrote it. If you were moved, leave your comment telling which part touched you the most. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next stories full of emotion, hope, and love.